Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 21st of January, Sunday, so I hope you have a wonderful day and weekend. Now it's 15 to 11 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Later on today, in the evening, about 9 or 10 o'clock, I will have a live stream on YouTube, traditional Sunday live stream, during the which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media during the day, and also I will try to, I will be active, as always, by commenting and trying to answer on the questions that I see on the chat, so we can have exchange of opinions in real time. It's always good fun, interesting and good fun to be engaged in real time with community in real time. Although I'm quite active anyway, I'm always trying to read as many comments as I can and react on the comments. So I'm definitely engaged in our community life, let's say this way. And now let's begin with the news. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefields. Even though we did not see some crucial breakthroughs during the previous 12 to 24 hours, some changes definitely did occur. And first of all, I will share with you information that Russian armed forces established control over the village of Krakhmalnae on Kupiansk sector of the front line, and now Russian forces are conducting offensive operations in direction of this Avdeevka village, which is southern side of Kupiansk itself. Also, of course, Sinkovka is still hotspot on this direction, and Petropavlovka, where Russian forces increasing pressure, and maybe we will see flanking operations of Russian forces around Sinkovka settlement. Time will tell. Also, by the way, this morning I did share on my Telegram that Russian forces establish control over the important Ukrainian fortified area Tsarskaya Okhota on Avdeevka direction, and also Skatovataya village was this area approximately. Skatovataya village was did become also under Russian control. This is Avdeevka direction, of course, here, and I guess this area is under Russian control. We also had information that Russian forces increasing pressure in the northern flank of Avdeevka. Seems like if not on northern side, Ukrainian defense lines still are somewhat maintain their current positions. On the southern flanks, Ukrainian defense lines collapsed, and if that's the case, we should expect some more significant advances of Russian forces in this direction inside the city itself. This is two major changes on the line of contact. Also, of course, a hotspot that everybody is talking about for quite a while now. It's Krinky village on the left bank of the Dnieper River. As you know, Ukrainian defense lines collapsed in this area several days ago, and because the Russian Defense Ministry did not yet made a statement that this village is under full Russian control, I guess some small units of Ukrainian armed forces still are maintaining their presence on the left bank, and these islands between these islands on the Dnieper River between the banks, and therefore it may take, I don't know, another day or two, and eventually clearing operation will finish. And the Russian Defense Ministry most likely will probably announce that this settlement is under full Russian control, and attention of Russian forces will shift towards Oleshki direction, where Ukrainian armed forces also maintaining some small footholds right next to destroyed Antonovsky and railway, bridges. Overall situation is under full Russian control, of course, and nothing is happening at this point that can influence this sector in immediate future. On other sectors, for example, in Zaporozhye direction, Russian units are increasing pressure on Ukrainian armed forces. According to some channels, battles began inside the Rabotina settlement here. I did not see any videos or photo confirmations that Russian forces are inside Rabotina right now. Therefore, I will not hurry to call for this that Rabotina is a battleground now, but Russian armed forces definitely are closing in and already are on outskirts of this village. All military channels agree on that Russian forces significantly improved their positions in Orekhov bridgehead area. Although still Zaporozhye direction, by the way, is one of the most quiet areas on the front line, and it's only local scale, small skirmishes, artillery duels and drone wars that are taking place. Nothing in the scale that will influence overall situation in this direction anytime soon. When it comes to South Donetsk direction, main hotspot is still Novomikhailovka, and Russian forces trying to improve their positions in the field, in these fields, by the way, between Novomikhailovka, Konstantinovka and Ugledar. I guess main task for Russian units are to cut supply and support lines of Ugledar garrison that goes through these southern roads that are connecting, for example, Ugledar with Konstantinovka. But still nothing is happening at this point that can be called breakthrough. I did speak about Avdeevka. Russian forces improving positions in this direction, and on the southern flank of Avdeevka, on the southern side, Ukrainian defense lines collapsed, as I understand. And when it comes to flanks of Bakhmut, Russian forces improved significantly their positions in Bogdanovka area. I did share even video this morning that this is it, by the way, when Russian soldiers start installing Russian flag in central, according to reports, in central parts of Bogdanovka. So I guess Ukrainian forces still are maintaining their presence on the southern outskirts of this village, but it's, I guess, matter of time, and the entire this village will become under full Russian control, and then we will see beginning of their offensives in the direction of Kalinovka, this village, and Grigorievka village there. Also, Russian forces closing in on Ivanovskaya. Although all these operations, military operations, are local scale, nothing in the scale that can be called at least sectoral. And when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, same story. Russian forces increasing pressure on Ukrainian units. There were some reports that Russian militaries improved their positions in Serbiansky forestry during the previous 24 to 48 hours, quite significantly. Also, reports on clashes in Belogorovka area, and some channels are expecting now this settlement to become under Russian control in short time. Seems like Russian units are determined now to establish control on this village. And also, of course, Tarskoye salient hotspot in this direction. Russian units increasing pressure on Yampolov, Terny directions. Although, as I said quite a few times before, I don't see any reason for Russian armed forces to rush developments and try to establish control over these villages as soon as possible, because if there is no large-scale military operations in planning, then these settlements, Terny and Yampolovka, can be used as a trap. Because all the supply and support lines for Ukrainian units in these settlements are under Russian fire control. And these settlements may become another Krinky, by the way, if you want. can become another opportunity for Ukrainian armed forces, and maybe that's exactly what Russian units will do. They will use these settlements as a magnet, as a trap for additional Ukrainian forces, and will neutralize them one by one, mainly with long-range strikes. And when it comes to Kupiansk direction, I already said that Sinkovka is a hotspot, Petropavlovka, and Russian forces established control over the Krakhmalnaya village. This is it for a short summary. If you are interested in more detailed analysis of the situation on the battlefield, of course I will recommend military channels for this. There are quite a number of them. But I have to continue now with some other news. RIA Novosti is reporting that over the Smolensk region, Russian air defense systems shut down 3 Ukrainian drones. Early hours of this morning, no reports about casualties or damage on the ground. But unfortunately, Ukrainian drone strike in direction of Leningrad region, on terminal of Novotek company in Ust-Lug was somewhat successful, unfortunately, and this terminal was targeted, then fire erupted. And even though officially, by the way, even though Russian officials did not yet made statements that it was a Ukrainian strike, Russian channels, big channels, by the way, including Riber, which is the biggest channel on biggest military or channel or analytical channel on Telegram, did reported that nighttime Ukrainian drones targeted this terminal in Ust-Lug, Leningrad region, by the way, and as a result of it, fire erupted. Evacuation happened of the personnel, and now firefighters are trying to extinguish the fire. Then damage assessment will, of course, take place. And by the way, because it's a Leningrad region, I guess rumors gonna begin again from which area, from where this operation was, these drones were launched, because from Ukrainian soil, it's quite far away, by the way. This is the area. This is the area, by the way, where terminal was targeted, and look at the distance from there to Ukraine. It's quite a long distance, and I'm quite sure rumors will begin that maybe Latvia or Estonia were involved in this operation, and maybe they allow Ukrainian side to launch drones from their territory. I don't think so. I don't think so, even though leadership of these Baltic states are extremely Russophobe. But I don't think they are that crazy to let Kiev regime use their territory for targeting Russian soil, because that would be declaration of the war, and Russia will have all legal means necessary to conduct response to retaliatory strikes, But anything is possible, really. I mean, I personally don't think these countries are involved, or the governments are as that crazy that they will allow Kiev regime to target Russian territory from their soil. But yet again, anything is possible, by the way. The level of craziness of leadership of the EU member states has no boundaries, with few exceptions, by the way. Of course, currently Hungary and Slovakia are definitely demonstrating that, you know, they are probably only adequate. They only have adequate leadership in entire EU, these two countries. But let's see what additional information we will receive. My understanding is that probably Kiev regime sent some sabotage groups in Russia, and these drones probably were launched from Russian territory. That seems more likely to me, but maybe Ukrainians managed to launch drones and target this terminal from Ukrainian soil itself. I don't know. Let's wait and see what additional information will be available during the day. But of course, it's, as I mentioned, if any of the Baltic states, let's say if Estonia, for example, was involved in this in any ways, then Russia will have a, if Russia has concrete evidences for that, then Russia will have all legal means necessary or legal ground to conduct retaliatory strikes. Even though Estonia is a NATO member state. And what? And what, really? Who cares? Anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that according to Wealth media outlet, Ukraine is losing positions on the line of contact due to severe lack of manpower. No surprises for us here, but because this type of articles are increasing in numbers in the West, and topic of lack of manpower is becoming one of the major topics of discussion when Ukraine is in headlines, I guess we can take these articles, this increased attention of Western media towards this topic of lack of manpower in Ukrainian armed forces as a preparation of the ground for future deportations of Ukrainian military-age men from EU member states to Ukraine, so that they will be then forcefully mobilized and sent to Frontline. By the way, EU member states may come up with different legislations and different terminology. They may not use deportation, they may use some other terminology, but that's what it's gonna be. Just recently, if you remember, representative of Estonia in European Parliament openly called EU member states to send back Ukrainian military-age men from EU to Ukraine. So calls are made openly now. German high-ranking officials did spoke about this topic quite a number of times. So let's see. In my opinion, it's inevitable that at some point Ukrainian military-age men, under whatever pretext, will be sent to Ukraine from EU member states. Maybe from not all EU member states, but at least from some of them. They will come up with some legislation to have some justification why they are doing this, because currently, according to current local and international laws about refugees, they cannot send them back to Ukraine. But yet again, they will create some additional legislation, and they will manipulate with the different terminologies so that it would not be deportations. It would be something different formally. Anyway, let's continue. And well, Ukraine openly asks West to use its army as a proxy. If you remember, day before yesterday, I did share a video on my Telegram, short video with the statements of Kuleba, when he basically says exactly that. The price of supporting the Ukrainian troops as a proxy force against Russia is minuscule compared to overall US budget. Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Kuleba, said in Davos, arguing that such a security investments benefits the US military-industrial complex. Unlike other US allies, Kiev is not even asking for American troops on the ground. Kuleba argued in an interview with the Bloomberg at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. We kind of offer the best deal on the global market of security. Give us some weapons, give us money, and we will finish the job, Kuleba stated. So you save the most important, you save the lives of your soldiers. Ukrainian diplomat also claimed that Kiev does not steal any money from American taxpayers, arguing that the sum of money allocated to Ukraine is, to say the least, a very little part of US military budget. Well, what Kuleba has to do with the US military budget is none of his business, really. That's first of all. Second of all, this is psychological stuff, by the way. He was not asked about this US money, but he said himself that they are not stealing. So they clearly understand that world perceives them as corrupt criminals, and therefore he's psychologically broken, and that's why he began to talk about this stealing US taxpayers' money and stuff like that, because he was not asked about it. He said it himself that, you know, they are not stealing. Of course they are stealing, man. The most corrupt regime in the world, or one of the most corrupt regimes, and definitely most corrupt regime in Europe. So what they are doing with this money, you think? Of course they are stealing, man. They become multi-billionaires, by the way, on this war. And multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires. I mean, Zelensky clearly will be a billionaire at this point, I guess. And well, how are you gonna comment this? How are you gonna comment this news? Government of Ukraine basically openly admitting that you know, they are proxies of West, and you know, they are asking for more money and more weapons so that they will continue to fight against Russia as a proxy, as a Western proxy or US proxy. That's exactly what they are, and unfortunately, because of the heavy propaganda in the Ukraine, I don't think Ukrainian public will receive this information. You know, how they've been treated, how they've been seen, even by their own government, as a cannon fodder for US or collective West. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that, well, aide of Zelensky, Mikhail Podolyak, during his interview with the Bild, admitted that West failed to isolate Russia, well, which is obviously the case. West definitely failed to isolate Russia, and it only takes, by the way, to look at the map. You know, just look at this, man. This is Russia here, and some I mean, intellectually not really great people in the West and in Ukraine were really hoping that they're gonna isolate Russia. From whom, for God's sake, and how? Just take a look at how you're gonna isolate this country, man. That first of all borders dozens of countries, and secondly has a better relationship with the majority of world states than Western countries have. How are you gonna isolate this country? It's only Russia can isolate Russia. Only Russia can do it. No one else. But let's go back to this news. So Syria senior advisor to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has admitted that Western elites to isolate Russia have failed. Western efforts to isolate Russia has failed to produce any results so far. Mikhail Podolyak also acknowledged in the interview with the Germany's Bild magazine published on Friday that Kiev is facing difficulties in trying to mobilize more troops. Yet again, topic of manpower. As I just noted a few minutes ago, more and more articles, more and more media outlets are talking about lack of manpower in the Ukraine, and that's why I'm saying that most likely ground have been prepared by Western ruling class to begin this deportations of Ukrainian military-age men from Europe to the Ukraine. Whatever they're gonna call it, man. They're not gonna call it deportations, that's for sure. They will come up with some other terminology, but that's what will be substance. They will send back to Ukraine military-age men that came to Europe from that failed state. Anyway, let's continue. EU state to resume cultural cooperation with Russia, according to media. The new Slovak Minister of Culture, Martina Simkovisova, has reversed the order prohibiting cultural cooperation with Russia and Belarus, which was introduced by her predecessor in March 2022 following the outbreak of military conflict in Ukraine. The document, over overturning the suspension of any academic, cultural, or other similar official cooperation with the Russian Federation or the Republic of Belarus was issued on January 12, with the decision coming into effect 3 days later, Slovakia's Pravda newspaper reported on Saturday, citing the documents it reviewed. Well, in one hand, of course, good news that current government of Slovakia made decision to resume cultural cooperation with Russia and Belarus. Good news, but in other hand, relationships are damaged so much so by previous government of Slovakia with Russia that I guess Russian side will find forever difficult to reestablish communication with not just Slovakia, but with all the other EU member states that were acting hostile against Russia. I mean, if you were in decision-making position in Russia, how would you react, and how would you trust any government of hostile states? Is it even theoretically possible? I don't know. Therefore, unfortunately, I find it difficult to see any realistic ways to, to improve relationships between Russia and the EU member states anytime soon, even in upcoming decades. Because I mean, you cannot trust governments of Europe, because today, for example, Slovakia has an adequate government. We can clearly see it, but previous government made or did so much damage, first of all, and then where is the guarantees that those radicals and Russophobes will not take power again in 3, 4, 5 years time? And if that's a possibility, then why would Russia even try to have any relationships with Slovakia? And same goes for every other country in the collective West. Let's say this way. After all, by the way, when it comes to Slovakia, we should always remember that previous government of Slovakia sent so much weapons to Kiev regime that new defense minister from Fico's government just recently stated that Slovakia effectively was basically demilitarized by previous government. That's how much weapons Slovakia sent to Kiev regime. They don't have now fighter jets, they don't have helicopters, artillery systems, tanks, enough of them to protect themselves. So Slovakia cannot even protect itself now because they don't have weapons for it. Almost everything was sent to Kiev regime. And those weapons, some of those weapons most likely still are operational somewhere in Ukraine and are used against Russia, against Russian citizens. And current modest and adequate statements of Slovakia's government not gonna change that fact, that factual information that we have, that Slovakia participated heavily in this war against Russia, in this war of Western ruling class against Russia, and this cannot be overseas or ignored. And as I said, same goes for every other country, by the way. I don't think Moscow will ever be able to trust European states. Ever. Which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, man. I mean, sometime in the future, if humanity will not destroy itself, maybe European states will have elites that are not really sick with Russophobia, Maybe European states will have elites that are really adequate, and there is no risks that some extremists gonna take power. And in that case, well, relationships may begin recovering between Russia and European states. But before that, no, because and Slovakia is a prime example, by the way, because now they have adequate government. But in 3 years' time or 4 years' time, new parliamentary elections will take place, and who knows, maybe those Russophobes and xenophobes will yet again gain majority support and become become ruling party. And what should Russia do then? There is where is there any sense to communicate, to establish any relationship with Slovakia now, when you know that there is a high risk that any decisions that this government will make will be overruled by next government? Therefore, if I was president of Russian Federation, I will ban any investments in the European states, any relationships with the European states, just basic diplomatic relationships. That's it. Just embassies here and there, nothing more. Because they cannot be trusted. And this is very unfortunate, but I'm not happy about this, but it is what it is. RIA Novosti reports that well, several US military personnel most likely was injured in US Ain al-Assad base in Iraq, in western Iraq, and this was confirmed by a Pentagon also, that number of personnel is undergoing medical checking, and well, this is yet again not the first and not the last strike on US bases in the Middle East. It's only a matter of time, and eventually Pentagon will be forced to withdraw its military personnel. Still, like, they not yet realizing this dramatic shift that happened in the Middle East. Seems like US leadership did not yet grasp what is happening in the region. Well, it will take, I don't know, some time, but eventually they will realize that they are no longer welcome in the Middle East, with the exception of Israel. And therefore, US bases, just mark my word, by the way, US bases will become target not just in Iraq and Syria, but also in Jordan, also in Qatar, also in Djibouti, everywhere, by the way. In Saudi Arabia, everywhere US bases will become a target. And give it to 3 to 5 months, and you will see that more and more US bases will begin experiencing significant difficulties, and some of them most likely will even be withdrawn. And this process will not stop. This is an unstoppable process. And well, of course, all of you are familiar with this information that happened yesterday. 5 advisors of IRGC, Iran's IRGC, was killed in Damascus after Israeli airstrike. And IRGC did promise retaliation. Iran's government did said that there will be retaliatory measures taken, and well, I guess that's how it's gonna be. Israel escalates with Iran on daily basis. Israel escalates with Lebanon on daily basis, and unfortunately, it's highly likely that eventually they will manage to provoke regional conflict, which will devastate the entire region. And if some Israelis are thinking that they're gonna come out winners from this regional conflict, they are very much mistaken. Nuclear weapons not gonna save them. Netanyahu's government is risking now immensely immensely. And if I was Israeli, well, I would be very, very, because you know, it's not the 60s and 70s now. It's a very different world, very different times. And if Israel provokes regional war, Israel as a state is done. Israel as a state will not survive. Region will be damaged unbelievably, but Israel as a state will not survive war in the Middle East. Regional war. Seems like Netanyahu don't really cares about it, or don't really understands this, but well, he's an idiot, by the way, uneducated idiot. I mean, how he gonna understand anything, really? RIA Novosti is reporting that Pashinyan called Baku, Azerbaijani government, to sign some additional agreements between the countries, especially ones that will guarantee territorial integrity of each other. Yerevan is very keen to sign with Azerbaijan any documents where Azerbaijani side will obligate itself to recognize Armenia in current borders. And this is important for Armenia because, well, as I said quite many times before, most likely Azerbaijan will try to establish a land bridge between mainland Azerbaijan and the Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic that borders Turkey, Armenia and Iran, but has no direct connection, land connection with Azerbaijan. And therefore, you know, it's obvious to me that most likely at some point Azerbaijan will try to establish control over some Armenian territories and establish a land bridge with Nakhichevan. And well, that's why Yerevan is on regular basis making these initiatives to sign agreement with Azerbaijan, but Baku is not in a hurry. Baku is not signing nothing with Yerevan. I guess Pashinyan just now began realizing how mistaken he was if he was thinking that well, he will give up Nagorno-Karabakh and some regions in Azerbaijan that was occupied by Armenia previously, and therefore Armenia will in a fast track manner, on fast track way, enter EU and NATO. Maybe that was a plan of his Western masters also, but in reality they are beginning to realize now that it's only a matter of time when Azerbaijan will try to occupy some Armenian land to gain land corridor with the Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic. And in that case, of course, Armenia formally, even if that conflict will last only a day or two, and once Azerbaijan will gain this corridor, hostilities will stop. Maybe it will not take long, but still formally Armenia will be in a military conflict with its neighbor, and therefore he cannot become a member of NATO. And I mean, Armenia cannot become a member of EU anyway, man. Just take a look at the map, man. This is Southern Caucasus region, and this is area of EU. I never understood why Georgia wants to become part of EU. Georgia is not a European state, and never was a European state. Not geographically, not mentally. Georgia is closer to Middle East with mentality than to Europe. And same goes for Armenia, by the way. Since when Armenia became a European state to have some aspirations to join EU, man? Some people, of course, will disagree with me and began speculating that, you know what, geographically it's Europe. And what kind of Europe, man? Just look at the map. That's a border of Europe in Istanbul. everything east of Istanbul is Asia. And Georgia is here, Armenia is here. What's Europe, man? What you are talking about? It's anyway, man. Anyway, it's none of my business really. If they want to dream about EU, let them dream about EU. Who cares, man? And well, yes, this is it. This is it when it comes to Armenia's initiatives. I don't think Baku will listen to them, but let's see. And also, RT is reporting that Russian Central Bank admits energy revenues have slumped. Russian export revenues dropped by almost a third in 2023, according to preliminary assessments of the Russian Central Bank, which cites a decline in prices for crude oil as one of the key reasons for the decrease. Last year, export revenues amounted to 422 billion compared to 592 billion in 2022. At the same time, the country's imports in the monetary terms totaled 304 billion, scoring year-on-year growth of 10%. They returned to the levels recorded in 2021 before the launch of a special military operation in Ukraine. A surplus in trade in 2023 amounted to 50.2 billion compared to 238 billion recorded in the previous year. So, well, after so many sanctions on Russia, of course, economy suffered quite significantly, and Russian side was forced to basically sell oil under discount. Russia sold more oil than in 2023 than in 2022, as I understand, but on lesser price, on significantly lesser price, and therefore, you know, revenues were much less. Also, by the way, we should remember that it's not just oil, but EU stopped by almost, you know, with few exceptions, stopped buying Russian gas, and gas exports in EU dropped significantly, and it will take time before Russian side will redirect this gas towards China and other Asian countries. So therefore, I'm not at all surprised to hear that energy export revenues dropped about 30%. This year, I guess situation will be a little better, but overall economy is withstanding this pressure of the West. So that's main stuff, really. Economy is withstanding this pressure, and things will become better and better as time goes by, because businesses will find new ways of new trade routes. Businesses will establish themselves on the new markets, and eventually Russia will be in a better position, really, after this breakdown of relationships with the West than Russia was during this closer cooperation with the West. I'm 100% sure about it. You know, Russia will be better off without the West, let's say this way. Yet again, because of the lack of trust, you cannot trust Western ruling elites ever again. That's how it is, man. So it is what it is. I will end this video now. And how long is it? 44 minutes still. Anyway, I hope you will find this video interesting, informative, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share video with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. It will definitely help to reach wider audience. And if you think this project with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram is useful, informative, and deserves to exist, also on Patreon, of course, by the way. So if you think this channel is okay, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now, and as I said in the beginning, later on today, this evening, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, somewhere there, somewhere at that time, I will have a live stream, and I hope you will join the conversation. I will share information about exact time on my Telegram and on community page. You may not receive notification from YouTube about that post on community page, so please, if you are subscribed on my Telegram channel, then monitor channel, and you will see announcement about this live stream. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.